back. It's time. Chair recognizes the young lady from California, Ms. Eshoo, for 5 minutes.
I thank the chairman for holding today's hearing and for extending the legislative courtesy for me to participate at your subcommittee, which I'm not a member of. I'm very glad to be here. Administrator Pruitt, public officials and public office have a public trust to live up to. We're called to hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards so that the people that we serve have the confidence that we work for them, not for ourselves, not for special interests, but for them. In front of your title, administrator, is U.S. EPA, an agency
Supports
that
the
Richard
infrastructure and economic principles that
founded.
will.
And I think if a public official loses the trust of people and his or her ability is then becomes crippled because of the trust factor. Now, you have a solid record of breaking ethics rules from the state level right up to the federal government. It's a long list, and it includes wasteful spending. I think it's an embarrassment to our country, and I think it's offensive to constituents. My constituents raise a lot of questions about you and say, how can he be doing this? So the first question that I want to ask you might be a little unusual one. Do you have any remorse for the excessive spending on behalf of yourself, the expensive air tickets, stopping in Paris, the amounts of dollars that you've expended at the agency for an expensive telephone booth? I know you said it's for a skiff, but there is a skiff at the EPA. Do you have any remorse about this?
Let me say to you, Congresswoman.
Well, you can answer it yes or no. Do you have any remorse?
I echo your comments. I think that what you said is
No, I want you to
absolutely true
answer
about
me.
the importance of public trust.
Sir, I have 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
I endeavor
Yes or no?
to live in a way that respects
Do you have any
that.
remorse?
I think there are changes I've made already. The change from first class
All
to
right, well,
coach travel,
let's,
that's a change
sir,
I've made. I learned
You're
about
not
the
going
pay
to
raises.
out-talk me. You're not going to out-talk me. You claimed that Stephen Hart, the lobbyist who owned the condominium where you paid below market rent, never lobbied you. However, we now know this isn't true. Mr. Hart's firm disclosed that he met with you regarding cleanup of the Chesapeake Bay. Did you have any other official meetings with Mr. Hart, yes or no?
The meeting that you referred to was not a meeting with
Did you have
Smith
any
Fielding.
other meetings
It was
with
with
him?
respect to an
All right,
individual.
I'm moving on. Did you ever discuss Mr. Hart's clients or EPA business with him outside of official settings?
There was no other meeting with Mr. Hart except the
Did you have
nonprofit.
any other lobbyists or representatives of industries with business before the EPA provided you with similar personal favors that you haven't previously disclosed?
Congresswoman, as I've indicated, with respect to this situation with Mr. Hart and Mrs. Hart, the only event that took place was a meeting with a nonprofit.
Are there any other
Chesapeake Bay,
instances
and I'm
in
not
which
aware
you
of any other.
granted?
I'm not aware of any
Are there
other
any other
instances.
instances in which you granted access to donors or lobbyists to whom you owed personal favors?
I'm not aware of any instances.
Your travel, including regular upgrades to first class at the taxpayer's expense, has cost over $200,000 since you became administrator. Are you reimbursing the taxpayer for any of that?
We can provide you the analysis that occurred in June
I don't
of
need
last
any
year
analysis.
with
I know what
respect to
airline
what caused the
tickets
change
cost.
to first
I
class.
fly across the country
and I've
every
changed
week.
that recently.
No, so what are you going to, you didn't answer my question. I asked you if you're going to reimburse the taxpayers for the overage. And this includes tent trips to Oklahoma as well. So are you going to reimburse? Are you going to, what are you going to do
The
about it?
travel office and the security team determine where I sit on a plane, and all trips that I've taken with respect to EPA dollars have been for official trips.
Well, you know what? With all due respect, I may be elected, but I'm not a fool. That's really a lousy answer from someone that has a high position in the federal government. I mean, this is not a Dodge question day. We ask these questions on behalf of our constituents, and I don't really find you forthcoming. So the last a few questions that I'd like to ask with 5 seconds left is when you traveled to your home
genlady's
state,
time
did you
has
attend
expired.
political fundraisers during any
The
of these
genlady's
visits?
time's expired. The chair
Would you like an
recognizes
answer?
the gentleman from Pennsylvania. Gentleman from Pennsylvania.